MJ Sewall. Last questions. In parentheses, Matt puts, "Ha! Right. For his Dave Sim book, I answered what I could." Matt adds also in parentheses. Mike writes, "I am almost done with the book. A few questions remain. I plan to ask Dave some of these, but you are my first line of knowledge. Can you help?" The last questions. Number one, 1973 convention. Harry Crummer bid, won, and paid for an auction for Barry Windsor Smith and Mike Kaluta's time so Dave could interview them. No, that's Harry Crummer bid, won, and paid for an auction of Barry Windsor Smith's time, 1 hour, and Mike Kaluta's time, 1 hour, that they would do a drawing for him. And I said, I get to interview Barry Windsor Smith because I had already asked Barry Windsor Smith, can we do an interview? And it's like, we can maybe talk about it later. That was the 1973 Triple Fanfare in October. The only time I was at a convention where a name cartoonist died and was in the news. Walt Kelly died during that weekend of that convention. Also notably, Dave got drunk for the first time at this convention. Same convention, or was this a different convention? No, the second convention that you're talking about was actually the first convention. It was earlier in 1973, probably February or March. That was the second Cosmicon in Toronto. And yes, I got into a party for the grown-ups and was actually drinking red wine and had never drunk wine that quickly because I was talking to Linda Lessman, Barry Windsor Smith's girlfriend, a strikingly attractive girlfriend. And of course, when you do that, you start chug-a-lugging your drink. So yeah, the first experience of, as soon as I moved to put my glass down, it's like, whoa, what is this? The interview was reprinted in following Cerebus. I believe the backstory was there, or in the next issues about last issue. Okay, the Mike Kaluta I interviewed at the Detroit Triple Fanfare, but Mike Kaluta was more available than Barry Windsor Smith was. It was like, can we go up to my room? I've got a tape recorder, and we'll have a couple of guys, me and John Balget, and we'll ask you some questions. And he was fine with that. So the interview with Barry Windsor Smith, that was in Comic Art News and Reviews, and Mike Kaluta's interview was also in Comic Art News and Reviews, but a separate issue. What were his parents' reaction when Dave announced he was dropping out of high school? Probably the same as any parent's reaction would be. That's a really, really bad idea, but we really don't know what to do with you because you're not getting the marks that you should get. You're a very intelligent guy, but your marks are terrible. You failed grade 11, and now you've gone back to grade 11 and you're just taking the 3 subjects over again. Geography, mathematics, and I forget what the third one was. Anyway, yeah, it's, I think it was, okay, we're not going to be able to talk him out of this, and if he keeps going to school, it might take him another 4 years to make it all the way to grade 13 and graduate. And I don't know if I told him about Miss Rennie's thing of saying, Dave, don't you think you would be happier if you left school? And it's like, yeah, probably. I didn't know that was an option, and I didn't know it was something that the teachers recommended to their students. You really, really, really would rather that I wasn't here, which I can completely understand. I was a complete smartass. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles #8 discrepancy. Was it 135,000 or 185,000 copies printed, sold? I have two different sources. Um, I'm going to guess that the 135,000 was the Mirage printing, and probably they tacked on what the reprint through First Comics in their Turtles collection added to that. That's a guess, but it was definitely over 100,000. #4, 1986, Moondance Comics. Met Kevin Eastman there, who suggested Turtles crossover. Met Kevin Eastman and Pete Laird there, who suggested Turtles crossover. Also met Puma Blues guys there. Yep, Michael Zoli and Stephen Murphy. Was this the same day? Yes, it was. It was the beginning of the convention when I met Kevin and Peter, and the end of or the beginning of the signing, and then at the end of the signing was when Michael Zoli came up and said, I was wondering if I could show you some from artwork. And he had a couple of matted pages from the Puma Blues. Okay, where are we here? Yeah. Yep, I have photos. We'll send tomorrow. Thank you, Matt. I'm sure you went ahead and did that. #5, Mom didn't recognize Dave in doctor's office. Dave said, Mom, it's me. I can't find this story again. Probably a podcast. When was this? Was Dave alone or with Susan? No, Susan was July 1994 to February 1998. This was with Zalastria, which my relationship with Zalastria was November 1987 to May 1989. So it would have happened somewhere in there. Zalastria was, I'm remembering the story vaguely, but what she had left Michigan. She lived in Michigan and come up for a visit, and was supposed to fill her prescription for whatever it is she was getting a prescription for. I don't think it was birth control pills, but I couldn't entirely rule that out, and figured, well, okay, I'll just go to a pharmacy and get it filled. And it's like, oh, this is a Michigan prescription. You can't get this filled in Ontario. And it's like, oh, well, what can I do? It's like, whoever you're here visiting, if they have a family doctor, you can make an appointment to go and see him, and tell him your story, and he can make out a prescription for you for the same sort of thing. She was very, very surprised to find out how cheap the prescription was compared to what she was paying in Michigan. And it's like, yeah, there you go. That's socialized medicine at its finest. The United States spends billions and billions of dollars developing these medicines, and then Canada does cheap generic knockoffs and sells them for nickels and dimes, not only to our own citizens, but back across the border. I'm pretty sure Donald Trump's onto that one. If that hasn't come to his attention, and I think I've read a couple of references to pharmaceuticals. We're going to have to deal with pharmaceuticals relative to Canada. And it's like, do-do-do-do, do-do-do-do. #6, Dave and Steve Ditko exchanged letters. Ditko asked Dave not to share or publish them. Dave honored this request. When and how did this start? Dave started it or Steve? Dave, I believe. It was actually Rob Imus, I believe, the guy who does the Ditkomania fanzine. And it was either him or Tim W., who used to do A Moment of Cerebus. One or the other of them said, I've got Steve Ditko's phone number and address. Do you want them? Because I don't have the balls to contact Steve Ditko. And it's like, yeah, why don't you send me Steve Ditko's address and phone number? And of course, the kicker on that one was, and this didn't get really widely circulated until after Steve Ditko died in 2018, that his name and phone number and address were always in the Manhattan phone directory. It's like he wasn't going to take them out because he was Steve Ditko. It's like, no, if I'm paying for a telephone and I'm paying to be in the phone book, I want to be in the phone book. I left him a phone message saying that I was sending him stuff, and then packaged up all of my Steve Ditko parodies that I had done to that point. It's like, I don't want any false pretenses here that I'm going to pretend that I never did Steve Ditko parodies because, Steve Ditko might get offended, and I'd kind of like to write to him. So I left the phone message saying, I'm sending you a package of stuff with all my Steve Ditko parodies in them. Dave Sim, I do a comic book called Cerebus. I did a comic book called Cerebus. And I will call you back. And then I set the date. I forget what the specific date was, but it's the same date that Barack Obama visited Canada. So it's on the front of Cerebus Archive #2 with the Barack Obama cover. If you check that'll tell you the day that I tried calling Steve Ditko, which was, again, like about 2.5 weeks later, so I could be sure he got the package. If he opened the package and went, well, this is offensive, and threw it away, then, as I said in the phone message, I will phone at specifically this time on this date, and if you don't want to talk to me, just let the phone ring, and I'll take a message and never darken your receiver again. And phoned at the time, and he picked up and went, hello? And I said, is this Steve Ditko? And he said, yeah. And I said, this is Dave Sim. Thank you for answering the phone. And he goes, why wouldn't I answer the phone? It was ringing. And we were off from there. It happened later, a good deal later, that I mentioned in one of my letters to Steve Ditko. I think future generations are going to be very interested to read what you had to say here. And it's he wrote back and said, these letters are intended for you. They're not intended for anybody else. And it's like, oh, okay, well, I didn't understand that. And then, sort of explained, well, I can't bring myself to destroy them. And, I understand that you don't want them read by anybody. So all I can do on my part is offer to seal them in the Cerebus archive. I still have the whole correspondence in a couple of correspondence boxes, and just commit to the fact that I won't be letting anybody read them, but I will have Eddie Kana, who is my successor as Aardvark Vanaheim president, and it'll be up to him whether he decides to stick with that policy or decides to do something else. Number 7, in 2011, they finally paid off Gerhardt. Is this when they divided the artwork? No, that came later. That was early in 2015. So there was a gap between, okay, we're all done now. You said what you wanted to be bought out of Aardvark Vanaheim. Here's the money from 2007 to 2011. And then it was, I think I've talked about this before, that it was, if you can leave the artwork with the archive, I'm not selling artwork. So if you want to sell artwork, then you can just say, like, any of these pages that you want, Gerhard could sell them and then pay me what he thought my share of the page was worth. And that turned out to be unacceptable to him. And what was acceptable to him was he's going to come and get his artwork, and that'll be the end of it. He'll have one run through all of the artwork and pick out what he wanted, and that's it. We're over and done, and quit. We never have to deal with each other or the artwork again. And it's like, okay, that's what you want. It's the same as naming your price when you were leaving. Whatever you were going to name, I was going to pay it. 8, Dave stopped Gare from taking something art off the wall. High Society trade cover? No, he did take that one. He wanted the Cerebus trade paperback cover, which is in my studio. And it's like, no, I can't do that. Although I could see there was a persuasive argument for it, because, it's like a classic Cerebus, but it's also wherever it is that he goes on Georgian Bay with his boat. Killarney? I'm not sure. My sailing memories are vague, since I only sort of heard about them after the fact. But yeah, the scene on the cover of the Cerebus trade paperback is definitely near and dear to Gerhardt's heart as a sailing place. So yeah, I can see that, but no, the Cerebus Volume 1 cover, that's one where I have to say, I'm afraid I'm going to hang on to that one. Where does Dave do his internet research? Library or somewhere else? I do it at City Hall sometimes, in the Rotunda, and sometimes across the street at Starbucks, depending on how long I'm going to be there and whether or not I'm letting myself have something Starbucksy at the same time that I'm doing the research. It's kind of a toss-up. I guess. Okay, I think I'm going to be able to find this one pretty easily. I think I'm going to be able to find this one pretty easily. Then I'll go to City Hall, because it's like, okay, quick in, get it done, get out. If I go to Starbucks, it's because I can't picture this being too easy to find, and I'm going to have to find multiple different ways to phrase it until I actually find the thing that I'm looking for. So in that case, I think I'd like to have a decaf Americano at the same time. Yeah, you said internet cafe, I believe. I would say percentage, probably about 4 out of every 5 times is City Hall, but I'd be guessing. Number 10, IDW lost money on TSDOAR. Did Dave offer to pay them back? No, I didn't have that kind of money. Did they write it off? Well, they sort of did. I talked to whoever it was that succeeded Ted Adams as IDW chief, who used to be, fortunately, in the foreign licensing division. And I said to them, I tell you what, let's have a trade-off. You were supposed to pay me every time you reprinted Turtles Volume 1 or Volume 2. It's in one of those. Just arbitrarily saying, anytime you reprint it, send me sell Aardvark Vanaheim $500 US. And they did that like once, and it's like, well, okay, I don't really want to make an issue of this, but it's probably adding up at this point. And I said to them, I tell you what, let's just make an arrangement, handshake arrangement. I get Strange Death of Alex Raymond back. You have no interest in publishing it. It's not doing land office business by any stretch of the imagination. And you get my rights to reprint Turtles number 8, as long as IDW is licensing the Turtles. If somebody else licenses the Turtles, then we're going to have to talk about Turtles number 8 again. But is this equitable to you? And the guy said, hell yes, that's perfect. We don't have to worry about that we're not paying you on Turtles number 8. You get Strange Death of Alex Raymond back. Everybody goes home happy. Number 11, Denny's brother Michael wrote fantasy under the pen name of Clovis. Actually, on Clovis, A-N Clovis. True? I can't find where I read this. Well, he didn't write that many stories. Most of them were for the Cerebus fanzine that never actually came out. We did a fantasy story together called Ambuscade, and that was credited to On Clovis. It's only in the Cerebus archive. That's never been reprinted anywhere. Number 12, Rick, a character that Dave describes as, quote, the most decent man he's ever written. Again, I can't find this specific quote. Well, there'll be a quote in the Can 12 portfolio, basically that anybody who was married to Jaka and could actually get along with Cerebus had to be like have a Christ-like beatific quality about him. And if not, he was at least bucking for sainthood. And that was always front of mind with me when I was doing Rick, was, okay, this is, even Cerebus can't be angry at this guy, even though he's married to Jaka. That's just absolutely amazing. Introduction to the collected Jaka's story. Okay, so it's in there too. Thank you, Matt. Number 13, Space, the Small Press and Alternative Comics Expo on March 28th, 2004. Matt Dow presented Dave with a gold retirement watch. Space even gave him their first ever Lifetime Achievement Award. Was this the same Space? And who else was there? Margaret? Others? Yes, Matt answers. Many yahoos. I have pictures of that too. Yes, that's also in Following Cerebus. I would also mention that Gerhard and I both got Lifetime Achievement Awards at that space. But Gerhardt decided not to take his when he left. So I don't know if he's ever changed his mind about that. None of us ever get too many awards in life. So if he ever wants it back, just let me know. It's sitting right on the wall in the weekly update room where I record the weekly update with the Ninja High School pages on the wall. First Kickstarter project, was it the IDW DVDs or Cerebus Archive #1? I'll look. You say I'll look, but High Society Audiovisual is my guess. Cans were later. My recollection was the John Scrutter first Kickstarter was just a lot of stuff. It was, how much stuff have you got? Here's how Kickstarter works. Just, autograph it and we'll offer all of these things. And it's like, oh, great. And just went berserk on all the stuff that we were offering without stopping to consider, maybe you should package up one of these and find out what it's going to cost to ship one of them and how much it's going to cost to pack them. That was when I met Rolly's Uncle John Funk, who was running a print shop and mail service at the same time, short-lived. And didn't price this in. Didn't realize that something that's this dimensions is going to cost this much if you're going to ship it in the U.S. and internationally. That was when John Scrutter just threw everything in a giant box and sent it back to me and went, I'm all done. He got partway through the fulfillment and went, no, this is just absolutely insane. So I think it brought in about $60,000, and I think I ended up spending about $60,000 doing all of the fulfillment, not going, okay, live and learn. This is like the animated portfolio. This is grown-up stuff. Nobody can make good on the $60,000 you lost. Who launched the weekly update on YouTube in 2014? And Matt says, Dave, it goes back to the wrist injury. The weekly updates themselves are from the remastering of Volume 1 and High Society to get them back in print. Yes, that's maybe a little simplified, but that'll do for number 15. 16, he calls it the Brain Trust. I have Dow, Liss, Benjamin Hobbs, Brian Coppola, no. David Birdsong, George Peter Gatsis, Jeff Tundis, Jen DiGiacomo, Robert Brian Lee West. Did I miss anyone? Sean Robinson, and you interject, Sean Robinson, Benjamin Hobbs. You already had Benjamin Hobbs. David Birdsong, Eddie Kana. After that is me and Margaret. The next circle is some of the others you mentioned. The other problem with Brain Trust, Matt goes on to say, is the chronological history. During the Yahoo days, it was the moderators, Margaret, Tundis, and Lenny Cooper. Next circle out, the top posters, Styler, John L., Rain Man Do, Chris W., Rick Scherer, and then I forget. Amok Eero 1, Tim, George, Sean, Mags. She is Cerebus Fangirl. Amok Era 2, Sean, Hobbs, Mags, Birdsong, Eddie. Then there's Dagan James at the Waverly Press, Dave Fisher and Max from Cerebus TV, John Scrutter and John Funk from the Kickstarters. And that's not even factoring in the ages of Aardvark Comment. Cerebus fandom is long and varied. Someone should write a book. Nyak, 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 nyak. I've got to say that I think the Brain Trust is a a moment of Cerebus creation. I'm not sure if it was Tim W. who came up with the idea of the brain trust, but it's something that definitely took shape once you, Matt, took over a moment of Cerebus. And it's always in flux. I think all the way back to the Yahoo group, it was always in flux, where people would post a lot, and then disappear for a little while. They got offended, or they were just gayfiating, getting away from it all. So I think that's ongoing. Like from my side of things, it's like Amok and the Brain Trust with Matt Dow as the hub on that wheel. That's the discussion area. Here's what just happened. Here's all of us discussing it who are interested in discussing it. With me, it's Dave Sim and Eddie Kana's the successor. If somebody on a moment of Cerebus wants me to know something, they're more than welcome to let me know what it is. Get Studio Comics Press to print it out, mail it to me, or leave a phone message, and Rolly will bring in it as a phone message. But other than that, I have no awareness of the brain trust. What is everyone's reaction to whatever the thing is? Cerebus in Hell with a question mark on Instagram. It's like, found out from David Birdsong that he's doing that. Is that something everybody's thumbs up on, or is that there's about 2 people that are enthusiastic about it, and everybody else is, oh, this not going to help. Not going to help. We're just dividing our resources too many different ways. I think that'll be different when Eddie Kana takes over as Aardvark Vanaheim president. That because he is on a moment of Cerebus and he does monitor what's going on a moment of Cerebus, he's far more aware of how people are reacting to something and making his own judgments about it. And most of the time, I think this is the wisest course, keeping his own counsel. It's like, I have an opinion on this, but I can be persuaded, but I'm not going to tell people that I can be persuaded. But if Dave Sim croaks tomorrow and I'm the one that has to make the decision on this, I think I already know what the decision is. And it's either, yeah, I'm with everybody on a moment of Cerebus Brain Trust, or no, this will be the Aardvark Vanaheim president, majority of 1. Dave was entered into the Guinness Book of World Records for, quote, most consecutive issues of a comic book written and drawn by one artist writer, unquote. Was it Dow that discovered this, or someone else? That's not what it reads. I got the Guinness Book of World Records page printed out to put with Cerebus number 1s, and I'm going to go and I'll check right now what it actually says in the Guinness Book of World Records. Okay, the actual record, and this was straight from Guinness World Record Book 2018, most consecutive comic book issues drawn and written. That's what the record is. You can disagree with them. I think it would be very easy to disagree with them, but I didn't approach them. They didn't approach me, so it's their call as far as I'm concerned. The actual text, as long as I got it right here. Comic fans might think of Stan Lee or Brian Michael Bendis as contenders for having enjoyed the longest continuous run writing a character or team comic book. However, the record holder is actually Canadian Dave Sim, creator of the indie comic Cerebus from December 1977 until March 2004. Sim wrote and drew the adventures of the titular aardvark, Cerebus, for a total of 300 consecutive issues. Dun, 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 dun. There you go. So getting back to this, Dave was, so that's what it actually reads. Was it Dow that discovered this or someone else? And Matt says Steve Peters, I believe. First printed in the 2018 edition, reprinted in 2020, not printed since. It's like, that's one of those things about the Guinness Book of World Records is who keeps track of these things? Are they still publishing it as a book in 2025? They obviously do they have a website? And if you go to the website and you type in the actual most consecutive comic book issues drawn and written, does it say Dave Sim Cerebus? Or does it sort of go, no, we have no entry for that? And as you can see, for the most part, nobody cares. The only people who care about the Guinness Book of World Records are the people who are in it. And even we don't really care. I did it so that if I see somebody that I know in Kitchener and, they have zero interest in Cerebus, I can go, well, here's a facsimile of Cerebus number 1. And you can see on the back, this is the page from Guinness World Records 2018. And Stan Lee's right above it with most prolific creator of comic book characters. From the introduction of the Destroyer in August 1941 to Stripperella in 2011 and beyond, Stan Lee USA has introduced at least 343 characters to the world through comic books. This total includes Stan the Man's collaborations with co-creators such as artist Jack Kirby and Steve Ditko, both USA. And there you go. 18, Judith Bradford. The whole mess lists Austin. Does that mean her married last name or Austin, Texas? It was Atlanta. Judith was she was at Emory University in Atlanta, and she was a graduate student, and I think she actually got to a tenured position. She was a protege of, I might get the name wrong, Catherine McKinnon, who was like one of the first generation feminists. And, I think Judith's degree was in women's studies. But yes, most of it was in Atlanta. I heard from somebody, one of her ex-boyfriends wrote me like 2 or 3 letters, which seemed odd or off because they were very, very critical. And it was like he was looking to start a back and forth. Let's talk trash about Judith. And I basically wrote to him and said, as I said about issue 186, an ex-girlfriend or an ex-wife, the best that can usually be said is that it's now a problem for others. And I think you're better leaving it at that rather than, don't don't talk about somebody behind their back. Don't try and get a two-way sour grapes thing going here. The last I heard from her would have been 2004, and somebody she had been dating had died in the 9/11 attack on the World Trade Centers. She moved to Texas. I think I got that from the ex-boyfriend, that she had moved to Texas and was raising chickens, and that was the last I heard there. So she's what's this year? 2025. So she'd be like 55. She would have turned 55 in January. The username on Amok is listed as Mrs. Chaos Manor. Yeah, I don't think Judith ever married, but I don't know. I didn't. The last that I knew of her was, when we broke up in St. Louis in 1992. There was a nasty comment that Dave actually wrote this, which could not be true from what I know of Dave. Was it ever confirmed that this was Judith? And then Matt answers, Steve Bolhafner, who was there the weekend Judith dumped Dave in St. Louis, said it read like her. I thought I sent the comment to Dave, but I might have left it up. So, okay, that ties back in with my relationship with the Brain Trust. Anytime something like that happens, and you think, okay, Dave Sim should know about this, and we need to get a comment from Dave Sim on this. It's an uneasy borderline. It's like I don't gossip. I mean, I'm still sticking to the situation with Neil Gaiman of until this actually goes into a court of law and somebody can say these are the actual charges that have been brought, and the trial is ongoing, and here's transcripts, and we'd like Dave Sim to comment on them. Well, okay, I'll stretch a point and at least look at it in that case because it's part of the public record. But this is what I heard about Neil Gaiman, or this is what they're saying about Neil Gaiman on the internet. No, homie, don't play that. That's it. The last questions I cannot answer with my research. I really appreciate all the help. And let's see, that's page 14. Yeah. I was actually thinking, Mike, that, I mean, hats off to you. When you said you were going to write this Dave Sim biography and it was going to be done right around now, I was thinking, I think you're dreaming with your eyes open, but go ahead, give it your best shot. And I'm thinking, okay, if this does become a book, I was thinking, what if Dave Sim reads the audiobook version? And I'm thinking, and what if, and I'm trying to picture, okay, how would that actually go? Me reading Mike Sewell's biography aloud and then interjecting with my own comments. It's like, has anybody ever done an audiobook like that where the subject of the biography is reading it? And I'm going, what would that be like? And that was when I flashed on the Reverend Dupas in Little Murders, played by Donald Sutherland. And his commentaries on marriage while he's performing the marriage ceremony seem to be to strike the same kind of tone that here I am reading along in Mike's biography, and then first let me state frankly to you, Alfred, and to you, Patricia, that of the 200 marriages I've performed, all but 7 have failed. So the odds are not good. We don't like to admit it, especially at the wedding ceremony, but it's in the back of all our minds, isn't it? How long will it last? We all think that, don't we? We don't like to be being it out of the open, but we all think that. Well, I say, why not bring it out in the open? Why does one decide to marry? Social pressure? Boredom? Loneliness? Sexual appeasement? Love? I do not put any of these reasons down. Each in its own way is adequate. Each is all right. I married a musician last year who wanted to get married in order to stop masturbating. The guests stir. Please don't be startled. I am not putting it down. That marriage did not work, but the man tried. Now the man is separated and still masturbating, but he is at peace with himself. He tried society's way. So you see, it was not a mistake. It turned out all right. Last month, I married a novelist to a painter, with everyone at the wedding under the influence of hallucinogenic drugs. The drug quickened our mental responses, but slowed our physical responses. It took 2 days to perform the ceremony, but never have the words so much meaning. That marriage should last. Still, if it does not, well, that will be all right. For don't you see, any step that one takes is useful, is positive, has to be positive, because it's part of life. And negation of the previously taken step is positive. It too is part of life. And in this light, and only in this light, should marriage be regarded as a small single step. If it works out, fine. If it fails, fine. Look elsewhere for satisfaction. Perhaps to more marriages. Fine. As many as one likes. Fine. To homosexuality. Fine. To drug addiction. I won't put it down. Each of these is an answer for somebody. For Alfred, today's answer is Patsy. For Patsy, today's answer is Alfred. I won't put them down for that. So what I implore you both, Alfred and Patricia, to dwell on as I ask the questions required by the state of New York in order to legally bind you, sinister phrase that, is that not only are the legal questions I ask you meaningless, but so too are those inner questions you ask of yourselves meaningless. Failing one's partner does not matter. Sexual disappointment does not matter. Nothing can hurt if we do not see it as hurtful. Nothing can destroy if we will not see it as destructive. It is all part of life, part of what we are. So now, Alfred, do you take Patricia as your lawfully wedded wife to love, whatever that means, to honor, but is not dishonor in a sense a form of honor? To keep her in sickness and health, in prosperity and adversity? What nonsense! Forsaking all others? What a shocking invasion of privacy. Rephrase that to more sensibly say, if you choose to have affairs, you won't feel guilty about them, as long as you both shall live, or as long as you're not bored with each other. I could read the whole rest of it, but that'll do it. That's I think that would be very funny. But even if we don't do an official audio book, I'll at least do the first chapter for you, Mike, and I'll do it in my Reverend Dupas voice. What a shocking invasion of privacy. Okay, now we're moving on to page 15, and that's over at the top of the stairs, which is several steps away.